Oh, baby, you can free my mind and nothing's gonna take control. I need something that I could never find, boy, you got it and it ain't for sure. Hey, oh, baby, won't you take my hand and never ever let me go? But it's time for us to take a stand, show the world that we're a miracle. That's all I wanted from you, a little more attitude. Oh, how can I refuse? 'Cause you're the one that I choose. 'Cause all I wanted from you was for our love to come through. There's nothing else I can do, but you're the one that I choose.
to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Barbizzo FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they're going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas.
Get your foot there.
He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
Canvas is going to win.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to FTF.GG's coverage of the 5th race of round 2 of the 2023 eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series, live for the virtual Milwaukee Mile in West Allis, Wisconsin. James Pike here alongside Caleb Hoffman. And Caleb, this is a track where things appear to move slowly because it is so flat and it takes forever to get through these corners, but I think things happen in reality much faster than it's sort of like the objects in mirror are closer than they appear.
Yeah,
that's sort of what I think about when I think of Milwaukee Mile right off the bat, and especially if we think back to what we saw with the Coke Series race here in February. There was a lot of that. There were a lot of incidents going in turn 1. There were multiple lines that you can take on corner entry here. So I think this is a deceptively complex track and a place that can surprise some people, not only in the way it races, but in the amount of calamity that we may have this evening.
Yeah, and in many ways as well, this is very reminiscent to what we expected kind of coming into the Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park a little bit, I feel like, where it's just a very flat type of racetrack, and you're going to have guys that are going to be all over each other all night. And in that race, obviously, we saw Andrew Navarro come out with his second win of the round. And, we've had this weird kind of motif going on where we have 2 different drivers who have won twice so far, in Daniel Buttafuoco, who won at Mid-Ohio, and then obviously last time he raced at Michigan, and then Andrew Navarro getting his back-to-back wins. And I think the real question coming into tonight is, can anybody kind of rise to that next level and take it from these guys? Because so far, I mean, these 2 have just kind of been unstoppable.
And or can you separate yourself from everybody else in the points? Reminder that the top 20 in this series at the end of its campaign at the end of next month will advance into the 2023 eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. And as we take a look at that, we'll stray away from the views of Caleb Hoffman and the furry feline friend that I saw creep up in the background and turn you to points, and more points. This is the top of the standings, adjusted 4 drops here after 4 races of the 7. Buttafuoco and Navarro, not surprisingly, near the top of the list. These are all the top 20. More importantly, though, look at everybody from, draw your line wherever you want, but in particular, Kwame Scott on down. That's 5 spots, all separated by 2 points. That will change, of course, but look at how tight it is right around the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, obviously going into today, I mean, we are officially, halfway through, this round, and everything at this point, it just raises so dramatically with how much is on the line, and you see how close everything is. I mean, look at that. The next 20, they're still only 23 points out. So anything can change, and you can find yourself going from, what you feel like safely is inside the top 20, top 15, somewhere in there, to all the way to 40th, just in a few laps difference.
I would say realistically, all of them have a shot. I think you could extend it all the way to about the, call it, 30-point-ish range. So realistically, that's about 50 of the 70 that we started with that I think still have a chance in some way, shape, or form to make it. Let's take a look at the starting grid for our race. A reminder that you can catch the other split on the FTN channel on YouTube. So if you don't see your favorite driver here, you may want to look at their broadcast and see what they have going on in the other race here for round number 5. Taylor Hurst out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, your pole sitter with a fast time of 29.373 seconds. To his outside is Daniel Smallwood. Anthony Burrows and Boyd Hogan start 3rd and 4th. Andrew Navarro will roll off from the 5th position. Conveniently, the number 6 of Noah Bitts will start 6th. Brian Mercurio, former Coke Series driver, starts in 7th. James Holzer for Altus Esports will roll off on the 8th spot. 9th is another former Coke Series driver who also had a birthday earlier this week. So happy belated birthday to Brian LaPrade, and Alex Kalanick completes the top 10.
Looking on back, the inside of row number 6, you're going to find the 66 truck and Christopher Pfeffer, and starting alongside him, another 6, and Jonathan Delaney. Got a whole bunch of 6s going on there. Then looking on back, we're going to have James Houghton starting in the 13th position today. Caden Rush will be starting to his outside. Thomas Hazard rolls off from the 15th position tonight. Dalton Collins in the number 17 to his outside. Timmy Pacioli as well, row number 9. Cole Hooper alongside him. And then Matthew Zwack starting 19th. Rounding out your top 20 is going to be Matt Kemp.
Philip Groner rolls off in the 21st position. He's joined on the outside of row 11 by Trayton Lapsevich, winner in the NASCAR Pinty Series earlier this year. Kenny Brady makes his return. He'll start 23rd alongside Zach Nichols. Brandon Pipgrass starts on the inside of row 13. To his outside, Luke Nupp rolls off from 26th. 27th on the grid will be Hunter O. Johnson. Chris Wetz starts 28th. Hunter Gagan and Matthew Bear start 29th and 30th. Yusuf Ghali is the 31st and final driver in our grid. Let's take a look at the track facts before we go racing here at the Milwaukee Mile. This is one of the oldest ovals in the country. It opened in 1903 and has been in operation in some form with varying spurts since then. We are technically just a shade over a mile. It's 1.015 miles. It's 1.633 kilometers in length a lap here. Just over 9 degrees of banking in the turns, 2.5 degrees of banking on the straights. We race for 100 laps, 100 miles, 160 kilometers. We go 70, 80 laps before we need to pit. Pit speed 45 miles an hour. In sim, your time is August 5th, 2023, right around 2:45 local time. Air temp 73 degrees, track temp 106 degrees, winds to the southwest at 8 miles an hour, humidity of 36%. Ready to greet these drivers as they get set to go here in Wisconsin. We are at the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds for round 5. We are underway with yet another race in the second round of eNASCAR qualifying iRacing Series for 2023.
Look at everybody kind of get to the bottom there. Good move from the 74 Taylor Hurst there. Anthony Burrows, he's still side by side for P3, looks like, and it'll look like he'll take that spot for 3rd.
Continuing to roll here. Off it goes Taylor Hurst there in the mix of things, ready to rock and roll and clear by maybe a truck length or two. First battle you see here go a little bit further back. Andrew Navarro and Boyd Hogan are the ones fighting for position. Remember, it was Navarro who was victorious at both Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, and Pocono earlier in this round.
And you see here, look at Navarro. He did a great job of getting to the inside of Boyd Hogan there. That's going to really open this door for Noah Bitts, and you got to be careful, just like what you saw right there. Noah Bitts getting slowed up, and that's going to open the door for Brian Mercurio to get down to the inside. Really opportunistic move, rather, and now Noah Bitts is going to have to find his spot in line.
So Bitts stuck up there. Mercurio to his inside, just behind. James Holzer is there, as is Brian LaPrade. I think the biggest question we have to ask is how much are you going to get freight trained in a setup like this, and how does that change things?
Absolutely, and I mean, it's almost kind of Martinsville-esque early on, where, again, you're just going to get cycled to that outside lane, and you have to find a spot to stick that truck, or else, like you said, you're going to get freight trained. And Brian LaPrade luckily has a little bit of a gap in front of him, and that's where Noah Bitts is going to slot himself in 8th position for that number 6 truck.
Continuing to shuffle here and continuing to work. Here's Brian LaPrade out of Manchester, Tennessee. Getting ready to make a move to North Carolina to further his sim racing career, but for the moment, just hiding out in line, holding out at the back end of the top 10, which is about where you need to be. If you want to make it into round 2, usually consistent finishes in the top 10 of your races are traditionally good enough to get you in, though doing better certainly wouldn't hurt. So now here goes Brian LaPrade to the inside and Noah Bitts. You saw Bitts get loose on quarter exit out of turn 2, so LaPrade will duck underneath him and make this pass pretty easily for the 8th position.
And I think that was just Noah Bitts. Once he got back on the throttle, the rear end of that truck swung out on him and allowed Breyer to make that pass, as you just saw. And really, I think is going to be what we're going to see for a lot of passing here tonight as these tires kind of continue to get worn out. You're going to start to see stuff like that, and I think that's going to be the catalyst for passing throughout the field.
Everybody pretty much single file already in this race. Just a matter of who's trying to run fast. A lot of times who's pushing and who's willing to give up some pace. Navarro is one that I look at here just because the gap between he and Anthony Burrows is stretched out a little bit more than everywhere else in this field. So it begs the question whether or not Navarro is saving a little bit or whether or not he genuinely is struggling for pace compared to the rest of the front runners.
And I don't know if it's going to be beneficial to push too early on. I mean, you can see there's a bit of a gap accruing between Anthony Burrows there in the 3rd position and Andrew Navarro here. I think right now, if you just kind of conservatively sit where you're at and just get to this first cycle of pit stops, then you'll be in a good spot.
Well, a good question here to ask and good things that we need to keep our eye on as you watch the race leaders and look and see who's pacing this field early and who's preparing to make moves. Taylor Hurst, incidentally, your race leader, comes into tonight 2nd in point standings, adjusted with the drop. If anything, it's Daniel Smallwood that I believe would pick up more than anybody else. He came in tonight 10th in points, and when you compare where he is to where some of the other drivers are, Anthony Burrows was 8th this evening, Navarro 3rd, Boyd Hogan in the mix too. So intriguing to see how this shakes up, and already, trying to play math to see where some of these people would line up and what sort of potential points gains are available to some of the front runners early on.
And again, we stress consistency so much. I mean, Daniel Smallwood last time we raced, at least at Michigan, had a 3rd place finish, a really good run, and using a lot of that momentum here as well. A very much different racetrack, and he's doing a good job just staying in Taylor Hurst tire tracks for right now. And again, wouldn't want to push it too much. If he just sits right where he's at, I think that 32 truck's going to be in a very good spot going forward.
Very interesting to see how it all pans out. Your front 3 are just sort of sticking there. I'm surprised that Hogan hasn't really pushed to put pressure on Navarro more than he has. And then as you look throughout this field, Holzer's beginning to lose touch with Brian LaPrade just a bit, and Noah Bitts, for as much as we saw that truck struggle and as much as that truck is struggling for handling, it is a little bit loose, it seems like, still has managed to keep about a 4 or 5 truck length gap over Alex Kolonix. And then further back, a little bit of shuffling here, but the first side by saddle, you have to go all the way back to Philip Groner and Zach Nichols in 22nd and 23rd. That's your first battle for position on the track.
Again, all the way back here, and right now just seeing everybody taking kind of that conservative approach, not wanting to push too far. And I wonder right now if everybody's just trying their best to stick in line together so as they don't lose time to the trucks ahead of them. Kind of similar to what we see up in that top 5, top 6 group, where they're just trying to stay in the tire tracks again of Anthony Burrows or guys like that. And you see another pass right here.
Continuing to fight for position here on the racetrack. Lots of really, really good battles. This, I believe, just a little bit further up. This is Trayton Lapsovich, Dalton Collins, and Cole Hooper that you're looking at. 19th, 20th, and 21st on the track, respectively.
And good move by everybody back here. We'll see if we get a sin going into 3. Not much. Looks like we're going to stay single file how we're running. You see that 95 truck wobbling just a little bit, got a little looser at the middle of that corner, and maybe could open the door. Here we go into turn 1.
Big wobble there, big move. Here comes Cole Hooper to the inside, but he can't get the run off the corner that he needs to stay alongside Dalton Collins. So Cooper will fall back to 21st, peeks to the inside again, and Zach Nichols is also there ready to take advantage. If Hooper missteps and misses the apex or misses his line on entry or exit.
And right now, if you're Dalton Collins, again, just sitting in line and letting other people make mistakes and giving you that opportunity to pass, I think is the perfect thing to do. Because again, you don't want to push your stuff too much. And I mean, you're far enough back in the field where you're not going to really have the luxury of being able to get on any alternate strategies. Maybe if you want to try something crazy, but
there aren't too many alternate strategies that I think we could bring up, but if there are, there's one man that will know them better than anybody else part of our team. So let's bring in the third member of our broadcast crew this evening, Justin Malillo. Justin, if there are pit strategies outside of the norm, what can we expect, and what do we expect so far as the sort of standard pit strategy for most of this field?
Well, thank you, James Pike. Hello, everybody. Pit strategy for tonight really does seem pretty straightforward. It's a 100-lap race. They could go maybe as many as 80 laps on gas. The tire wear probably isn't going to last that long as far as like keeping up the speed. These guys are already well off their qualifying pace. Qualifying laps were 29 3s, 4s, 5s in that range. They're already a second off from that, running 30.576. Taylor Hurst just ran that last time by. So they've already lost about a second. If it stays green, I would expect that we'll probably see these drivers coming around that midway point. You might have some drivers opt to stay out. We saw this on Tuesday night in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Of course, they were at a different mile track. They were at the Monster Mile Dover. Same thing applies, though. I mean, you stay out, you catch a caution, you get a lucky break like Garrett Lowe and Jimmy Mullis did, and you get a good finish out of it. So that strategy does exist on the table here if a well-placed caution does come out. But otherwise, you're probably going to see about midway, you'll see these drivers come in. Maybe some guys opt for an overcut, maybe some guys opt for an undercut, whatever it is. Not too much as far as winning the race if it stays green. The other race over on FTN, it's a completely different race going on over there, by the way. They had a caution on lap 2. Kenny Humpy died. They've been 3 wide, they've been 2 wide, they've been racing it up over there. Over here, it's looks like they're just trying to hit their number over here. I'll send it back up to you guys.
Kenny Humpy died. Emphatic description there of proceedings over in the other race on FTN, Justin, so thank you for that. Meanwhile, that confirms what I suspected, that halfway likely is going to be the play if this goes green for a long time. And Caleb, at this stage, I don't think there's any reason as to why it wouldn't go green, clean as we've been throughout the first 21, almost quarter of this race now. We're closing in on 25 laps complete.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, from what we've seen lots of clean and respectful racing, and I mean, everybody's giving each other space, giving each other room. But you know, as we get later on in this race, all it takes is one little anomaly, and it could throw this entire race out of sorts, and could put us under caution, whatever that may be. So something always to keep an eye on, and maybe something right here on the front straightaway. Looks like this is between Pacioli.
Pacioli continuing to roll that group that we talked about a little bit ago between Collins and Lapsevich and Cooper, still fighting for position a little bit further back there, and that's probably your best battle on track at the moment.
Meanwhile,
Matthews
right now
beginning to make a charge as well. Already up a few spots here, and up 4 spots since we started this race, so a modest gain, but not really too much movement amongst really just about anybody here in the top 10. All of your top 10 started in the top 10. Zwack actually is probably the biggest gainer of just about anybody in this field. 4 spots up from where he started. looking to see if there's anybody else that compares, and even in the back of the field where you usually see more fluctuation, not really. So Zwack has a really, really good truck. Clearly, it's just a matter of how many spots can he gain on a track that is notoriously pretty difficult to pass.
Absolutely. I mean, you see why it's so hard to pass with just how dominant that bottom lane is right now. And looking around right now, I think the group of trucks I have my eye most on right now is this group from second through fourth of Smallwood, Burrows, and Navarro. And really, Taylor Hirsch starting to pull a gap to second place Daniel Smallwood here. And Anthony Burrows, I think, lap after lap is just starting to get a little more aggressive. And I mean, you can see how that gap is built heading into 3 for leader Taylor Hirsch. But, you know, if you're Anthony Burrows or Andrew Navarro right now, I think you're watching that gap and you're just starting to get a little restless in your seat saying, hey, come on, like we gotta stay with him.
Interesting point from Luis Almaso in chat on twitch.tv/FTF_GG if you're typing in a URL. Now we should start to see who has it tonight or not. If you burn your tires up on the front end of this run, you'll start to open the parachute and fall back. So we'll see whether or not Luis is up to something with that prediction. I do think it's worth noting, though, that Navarro was able to close that gap to Burrows that had opened up. So I wonder if Navarro potentially saving a little bit may actually help him here, and whether or not Burrows may end up giving up a few spots or not, depending on how much he pushed or didn't, or if it's Smallwood that we have to worry about. I get the hunch that one of these three probably ran a little bit harder than they'd like in the opening quarter of this race, and now we'll start to figure out who's the guilty party so far as that's concerned.
Absolutely. And right now, looking around, I mean, Burrows here, I think he and Navarro have the best shot. They can get around Smallwood here. I think they can close this gap because, like you said, it's all about a balancing act. And, you know, if you're being easy in the first half of this run, then maybe you can start to come on strong a little part of the back half of it.
At this point, we'll take a quick moment to go to a break and get in a few words from some of our partners, but don't go anywhere. More action in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series from the virtual Milwaukee Mile coming your way on the FTF.GG Twitch channel. Welcome back to FTF.GG's coverage of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. This is race 5 of round 2 from the Milwaukee Mile. James Pike, Caleb Hoffman up in the booth with Justin Melillo down on pit road. You saw a good battle there between Jonathan Delaney, Matthew Zwack, and James Houghton on your screens. Now we move a little bit further forward. This is that 2-3-4 group we've been watching all night between Daniel Smallwood, Anthony Burrows, and Andrew Navarro. And at this stage, none of them are any closer to Taylor Hurst than they were before. If anything, they've fallen back a little bit since we went to break, Caleb.
Yeah, it looks like we got one truck on pit road here. Zach Nichols, and like we were talking about before the break, I mean, that gap to Taylor Hurst has only grown. I mean, it was just over a second. Now you see almost 3 for this group of 3 trucks right here. So I think they're going to need a Hail Mary here in football terms. But I don't know. If we go green, it's going to be really tough for these guys to get back to Hurst.
Justin Melillo, if you pit now, what are you trying to bank on, and what sort of lucky stroke are you trying to have fall in your lap to try and get some track position?
Well, James Pike, you can make it on gas to the end from here. That is, without a question, something that you can do. And what these guys who are pitting early are going to have the benefit of is those fresh tires. We're going to start seeing some lap times from these drivers, Matt Kemp, Zach Nichols, and Luke Knupp. We should start seeing their lap times in about the 29-second bracket, which is about 2 seconds faster than everybody else on track right now, besides maybe the leader, Taylor Hurst. So they're going to be able to pick up about 2 seconds a lap for the next 10 laps before they hit another cliff. And they might be able to unlap themselves. They probably will be able to unlap themselves. By the time that the other trucks probably come into pit around like halfway, they're going to have a pretty decent lead, but they're also going to have the oldest tires at that point. So they're probably hoping for some mid-cycle caution that they'll be able to pit and take more tires, and they'll get track position from it. That's really the only thing I could see. I'll throw it back up to you guys, though.
So generally speaking, green flags are what you want if you're Kemp or Nichols or Knupp. Meanwhile, any updates from our other race on FTN, Justin, while we're at it?
They have been green flag. They're on lap 34. I haven't really checked who was the leader there. I think earlier on I saw that oh shoot, I forgot his name, but whoever our winner, almost winner at Mid-Ohio was, I can't remember his name right now. He almost won at Mid-Ohio. There you go, Spencer Kostowicz. He was leading earlier. I saw him leading. They haven't had another caution since, but they have been having some pretty sick battles going on here. People making some dives. It's been a much different. Oh, we got something going on in our race there. I'll throw it back up to you guys.
Yeah, I was watching that because that was developing for about a lap or so. Christopher Pfeffer was holding up a good chunk of that bunch, and he got a bump, I believe, from Caden Rush. I'll double check that to make sure. But yes, he and Caden Rush got together on the entry of turn 3 last time by, and that sort of unclogged the log jam that was there. We're going to look at here on the FTF.GG replay, but you'll see going into turn 3, just a little bump there, not a lot. But at a place like this, slow as it is, enough to send you sideways. And Pfeffer was running in about the 11th position, now back to 17th on the racetrack. And now we are sort of out of battles for at least a little bit, as everybody else is just trying to work their way through to the pit stops here, which if you're splitting down the middle, as Justin has talked about, you're coming down to pit road in the next 10 laps or so.
Absolutely. And again, all it's going to take is one incident or so, and we almost got it right there. See a big move here from that 17 at Dalton Collins, and looks like they're going to be side by side off 4 here. But one little mistake like that can throw a wrench into this race and all the pit strategy that we've been theorizing and talking about, and almost got it right there. But looks like we'll continue on chugging for right now. And Taylor Hurst, again, just continues to open up this gap right now. And you can see these 3 trucks all just kind of riding together at this point. I think they just kind of have to accept their fate and realize they have to work together if they have any shot at getting back to them.
And lots of work at that, because it seems like with each passing lap, Hurst is clear by a mile and a half, figuratively speaking. He is 0.3 a lap faster than anyone else in this race and is gone in a proper sense. As you see the battle here for third, Navarro is going to take it from Burrows, but Hurst is clear by 4.6 seconds, completely free and clear off the front of this. Smallwood's opened up a little bit of a gap on Navarro. It's about a half second now that Navarro's going to have to chase down Burrows, who indeed ran his tires a little bit hard. And then Mercurio has just lost track position, I believe, to actually, no, I take it back. Didn't lose track position, just got around some of the lap machines, passing Matt Kemp and Zach Nichols, who've already come down pit road. So that's where that came into play. And then you stretch it back, and we go on another side-by-side battle until Thomas Hazard and Cole Hooper for 16th and 17th.
And I mean, right now we just watched Andy Navarro was able to get around Anthony Burrows, and then you see this is, I believe, the 17 once again. And looking around right now, I gotta wonder if you are some of these trucks. You know, are you trying as hard to catch? Say Andrew Navarro, is he trying as hard to catch Daniel Smallwood right now, knowing that they're probably going to have to pit within the next 5 or so laps here, and you don't want to run that risk of, running somebody over trying to get onto the entrance of the pit lane?
And or worrying about the lap traffic that has the fresher tires, which I think would be my bigger concern if I were in that bunch. Is you've got both of Kemp and Nichols working to the outside of Burrows for the track position. You get a good look here just a little bit further back at some of these battles that are taking place a little bit deeper in the fields. This was the Hooper Hazard battle that we were looking at earlier. Hazard has really fallen off a cliff. You could see him slide out of turn 2 that last time by. So next truck up behind him would be the Christopher Pfeffer machine that we saw go for a slide right about here on the racetrack a few laps ago.
Oh, and is that 66 going to dip onto the pit lane? I believe he will.
Given how much his tires are probably hurting after that sideways slide, probably not the worst decision in the world.
Yeah. Again, could hope for, like Justin was saying, a mid-cycle caution to maybe help you out even more, but good call, I believe. And I think pit road's going to be a really busy place here in the next, 2 or 3 laps. Holzer
down pit road. Justin, any updates from anybody on pit road? Any updates from the other race while we have a moment?
I'll give you an update quick from the other race there. Under their second caution of the night, lap 40, crash between Jack Coyne and Tommy Gossett into turn 1. They have slowed, and that pretty much makes their strategy pretty straightforward. Over here, not so straightforward. I would have expected that the 3 drivers that came in and short pitted around lap 30 would have gotten their laps back by now. But their times have already fallen off, that they're matching Taylor Hurst's times. It's insane the pace that Hurst has tonight. Back to you guys. More pit stops.
More pit stops indeed. Noah Bitts, James Houghton, Timmy Pacioli, Kenny Brady amongst the drivers on pit road. There's Pacioli you see here. Bitts coming out of his stall. Everybody else trying to make their way to the racetrack. Meanwhile, Caden Rush and Jonathan Delaney are on pit road, and Cole Hooper will join them just behind.
Again, looking around right now, and just I think the next big domino to fall is going to be which one of these top 5 drivers is going to be the first to come in, because I feel like it's just kind of going to be a reaction game from everybody when you're going to see one truck go down, and then everybody else is going to decide either that time or the next time by that they're going to want to join them. And I see Anthony Burrows, his tires are absolutely shredded right now as Boyd Hogan's able to get around him. Or no, excuse me, that's one of the lap trucks able to get around him, and you can just see kind of that discrepancy, and it makes me wonder if we're going to see some of these top 3 be like, hey, I want that.
Caution.
Well, it will change here pretty significantly, because yellow flag is out on the racetrack, and that is a big win for anybody who is yet to come down pit road. Not sure where it started, but incident here on the racetrack to slow us down. And our first yellow flag of the evening, I think the answer may be with Luke Canuck.
It's that mid-cycle caution we were talking about. We'll get a look at it here on the replay. And ooh, I think he just got kind of run over mid-corner there.
Not a lot to it, I would say. Truly not a lot in that, but just, I mean, it's almost the same thing we saw with Christopher Pfeffer. So, but a little bit of contact from James Houghton, who had come down pit road and was on fresh tires, and sends him around, and now that gives everybody else the opportunity to come in. And if you were trying to play pit strategy, Justin Malillo, this was about the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, it pretty much split the field in half there. Half the field hadn't pitted yet. Half the field did pit. Everybody who did pit did get trapped a lap down. Everybody who is trapped a lap down now isn't able to be on the same tires. As we see the battle off pit road, Taylor Hurst easily winning that. All these drivers that stayed out are going to be extremely lucky here in the fact that they've got the fresh tires and the track position. Everybody else taking the wave around, they're going to have a complete disadvantage. Unless they get another caution, they're going to be at a complete disadvantage for the rest of this race.
Never mind the fact that they had to take the wave around just to get back on the lead lap. They didn't even get to gain any track position because the leaders came down pit road. So not only are you on old tires, but you have to start behind everybody else.
Exactly, James. It's it definitely it would have been probably the right strategy had this race stayed green. I cannot believe that was a caution, but that's the way it rolls sometimes.
And the biggest winner out of all of this, Caleb Hoffman, I think pretty significantly. You could probably put this one together for me now, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think we're looking at him right here in Daniel Smallwood and kind of this second through fourth group, and we saw how aggressive they were getting. I think my question becomes, how aggressive are this group of Smallwood, Navarro, and Burrows on this restart? I mean, we've seen just the pure pace that Taylor Hurst has shown so far today. I mean, you don't want to give him that opportunity to do that again, to gap you again, and you have a rare opportunity here to get by him. So if you're Daniel Smallwood, Andrew Navarro, maybe even Anthony Burrows, I think this restart is in your hands on how aggressive do you want to play it to make sure that Hurst can't get away from you again.
So, lights off on the pace car now. Wave around's coming. Everybody here, look at just the stream of cars going past the pace car just to get back on the lead lap to get themselves sorted. And now your leaders will have the opportunity to catch up to the pace car and get it sorted. So, yeah, Taylor Hurst loved that yellow, no doubt about it. Took out pit strategy means that you can pretty much run the exact same way that you had in mind, and then you sort of just go from there.
And again, look how close Andrew Navarro's already getting the back bumper of Taylor Hurst here. I would be surprised if we didn't see some type of move made going into one here.
This may be the last good chance that this field has to touch Taylor Hurst. You make a very good point here. So if they want to send the bumper to him and get him out of the way and make this a potential race at the front, may come right here. Green flag out. Hurst got a pretty good jump, though, on Navarro. So it's going to be tough for Navarro to really send it off into turn one. And if anything, he backed it up a little bit to try and get a good run through the center and through the exit of the corner, but not to much avail because Smallwood's still there on the outside.
Can't get caught up here if you're Andrew Navarro. You don't want to be side-by-side battling with Smallwood because, again, that's just going to let Taylor Hurst run away with it right now. Got to play this smartly.
Smallwood got loose there on the high line, and that gives Navarro the second spot of the racetrack. So now Navarro's going to have the opportunity to chase down Hurst cleanly and see if he's got anything, or, quite frankly, if anybody else has anything for Taylor Hurst and this 74 machine that has been a rocket ship at the front of the field all night long, especially on the long green flag runs.
And looking around right now, looks like Burrow's going to send it a little too hard into turn number 3, and that's going to open up the door now for Boyd Hogan to get underneath him, maybe even Brian Mercurio as well. No, Burrow's going to slide in right there, and now Mercurio going to look down to the inside. This is inside the top 10.
All single file racing for the moment, all just trying to find their place and figure out where the right spot is to be as Hurst continues to lead this field, then Navarro, then Smallwood, then I believe Boyd Hogan and Burrows, and yep, just a straight line shot for everybody up until you get to Jonathan Delaney and Zach Nichols back in 20th and 21st.
And everywhere else is calming down, but not this group right here. And you can see just how close they're getting. And again, don't write us off as done yet. I mean, again, one little slip up from one of these trucks and you'll find yourself down 5 spots and maybe even potentially put us under a yellow. See right here.
I think a lot of these drivers in the back would not mind a yellow of some form, truly.
Oh yeah, I mean, that first run, it came out at the worst time possible for you, and not sure if one so early would benefit you, but maybe a little bit later on. And I mean, look how racy these guys are being back here. I mean, quite different from what we've seen everywhere else throughout tonight.
The contrast is stark between everybody that pitted during the yellow and everyone that pitted before the yellow. Everybody that pitted before the yellow, it's just been side-by-side racing back here, so we'll stay. This is Philip Groner to the outside of Zach Nichols, who continues to lose spots, and now here comes Christopher Pfeffer looking to his inside. That would be 23rd if he can uproot Nichols and get him up the racetrack and get the spot as there's contact a little bit further back. James Houghton goes around, and that is the yellow flag that I think everybody at the back of the field was just hoping would come at some stage, because now this gives them the opportunity to come down and pit for tires without much penalty.
Again, just one little slip up and puts us under the caution flag again. And I think, James, similar to the first caution, there's not much to dissect here.
Indeed, a little bump, little tap, little spin, and we're back under the yellow flag once again. We'll keep our eyes peeled as to who comes down pit road. You'll see the contact there. Yeah, just caught the apron. Couldn't tell who that was initially, but caught the apron and sent the 41 truck up the hill and into that high groove to bring out our second yellow of the last 20-ish laps or so.
And then this field's going to get another opportunity here. Not sure we're going to see much action on pit road, although looks like Andrew Navarro and everybody else.
Oh,
no.
They thought about it. They thought about it. So who actually is going to bite? The answer to that question, Thomas Hazard is the answer after Dalton Collins. Collins was the first one to come, and then Hazard decided to go. And a few drivers here out back are coming in. I see Zach Nichols, I think, also part of that group as well. So about 10 trucks that come down pit road. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back on the other side with Green Flag Racing as FTF.GG's coverage of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series at the virtual Milwaukee Mile continues after this. Welcome back to FTF.TG's coverage of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series here at the Milwaukee Mile. James Pike, Caleb Hoffman, Justin Malillo, bringing you the action from West Allis, Wisconsin, as lights are off on the pace car. Your top 18 drivers stayed out under that last yellow, about 12 lap old tires for most of them. 15, 16, 17 lap old tires for about 5 drivers in the middle of this pack, and freshies from Thomas Hazard in 19th on back. Another opportunity for Navarro and company to go get Taylor Hurst, but Hurst got a fabulous restart, way better, and Navarro was caught completely flat-footed just about, so he'll try and make the outside work for him, but Hurst is gone already, and here comes Daniel Smallwood to the inside.
And maybe a little bit of a role reversal of what we saw last restart, with Smallwood trying to take second place from Navarro on the inside. And we saw this is where Smallwood slipped up last time. Looks like Navarro's not going to have the same issue. They're still going to retain side-by-side formation off 4.
Trayton Lapsovich got help way in the back of the field and absolutely pounded the fence. That might be night over for him. Got into Luke Knupp, so just worth noting where that came from. Yep, hearing that there is a black and red flag for Taylor Hurst. The meatball is there. Meanwhile, did you see that bump as Navarro tried to get to Smallwood and then got help, and now I think Burrows gave the bumper to Navarro, and here comes Anthony Burrows up to third.
And trying not to get stuck on the outside of that conveyor belt, and so easy to do. Look at Boyd Hogan trying to poke his nose down to the inside. Looks like just barely he'll be able to get there. Navarro can't quite get in front of that 96 truck, and now after restarting second, Andrew Navarro could be outside the top 5 shortly.
I don't know what happened back here to put us 4 wide, but something happened back here to put us 4 wide, and somehow they managed to sort it out. I couldn't tell who got the help, but it was initially, I think, Brandon Pipgrass that was slideways, like we've seen a few other drivers tonight, and he went way sideways and then caught it back. The problem is that he's now scored in the 30th position.
And again, look right here, Brian LaPrade to the inside of Andrew Navarro. Now, oh, look at Andrew Navarro. He's trying to get down in front of Mercurio. He does. Great job by him, but that's going to stack everybody up behind him. 32 laps to go, and it's going to be an uphill battle for the rest of the day for Andrew Navarro if he wants to have a shot at get back up inside the top 3.
It's a block party at Milwaukee is what it is, because that's about the 3rd or 4th one that we've seen in the last, call it, 5 laps or so.
If you're Andrew Navarro right now, I mean, you cannot be happy with where that restart has led you. I mean, getting trapped on the outside and then, again, just getting freight trained the whole time. You're lucky to find a spot right there inside the top 10 still, but starting to wonder if he's rethinking his decision of faking that pit road stop.
Perhaps. Hurst clear by 0.3 of a second. It looks like they're starting to press more. I don't know if they've got the pace to keep up with Hurst over a green flag run, but we're definitely seeing more speed out of Smallwood and out of Burrows as they continue to work around the Milwaukee Mile. Meanwhile, good battle here. James Holzer trying to get 10th from Alex Kolonix down the front stretch.
At for 10th at the moment. I'm kind of surprised at this run. I thought we would see a lot more aggression throughout the field with 29 laps to go as we're starting to approach the closing stages of it, but still seeing everybody favor this inside lane and not seeing anybody really try to use the bumper at this point.
So we'll continue to watch this battle for second between Smallwood and Burrows. Worth noting that the top 7 have opened up a gap. Hunter Johnson is next in line, but he is about 0.6 of a second back from Mercurio in 7th, and then you've got the conga line here from 10th on back. Kolonix, Holzer, Jonathan Delaney's done a nice job. He and Holzer both have been able to stay out on slightly older tires than everybody else, and they have held off the drivers, at least for the time being, that came in on pit road. The problem is that Thomas Hazard is now looking to the inside of Yusuf Ghali, who will just give up the spot, and now Delaney and Holzer are going to have to deal with Hazard, with Bitts, with Zach Nichols, with Hunter Geoghan, who's in the 18th spot as it stands.
Look at this group back here, right behind Noah Bitts. Seeing Cole Hooper trying to get down to the inside and doing a good job. Still racy. This is, again, back near that 15th position. And this is, 15th on back is where we're seeing a lot of the aggression throughout the field right now. Just guys trying to salvage their days and make up as many points as they can.
Also worth noting that Philip Kroner got into looping up maybe 2 or 3 laps ago. Exited turn 4, sent him around, so Nupp now scored in 30th, the last car on the racetrack.
Either around it. It's not hard to envision how a contact could happen at this point when you're looking at this group and just how aggressive they're being, how racy they're being back here. And it's the slightest little misjudgment. If you get on those brakes just a slight bit later than the guy in front of you, you can, of course, have that contact, send that guy around. Is what we've seen a few times tonight. Put us under 2 cautions so far. Looking around right now, looks like for the time being, we're going to sort things out. Don't expect it to stay that way for long.
Would not expect it to stay that way in the slightest. Justin Willolo, do you have any updates from our other race?
Yes, sir. They are under caution once again for the 3rd time. They've had a little bit of a yellow party going on over there. They had a little bit of a shakeup in the pits as well. Kostowicz lost the lead to Brad Wright, but Brad Wright is not the leader. Jesse Kaplan stayed out. So a little bit of a shakeup going on over there. They're coming back to the green on 31 to go. So that's going on. Yeah, that's about it over there. They've had a little bit more of an exciting race, even though we had our own excitement as well. There was a massive block earlier for P2. I don't know if you guys caught it or not, but it was definitely insane, and part of the reason why Navarro is back in 6th right now.
Navarro has slid back a little bit. Not the night that he would have looked for, but again, it's that kind of finish that will allow you to be in really, really good shape going forward, especially when you've got the wins banked like he already does. Let's take a look at the replay here. We'll get a look at some of the incidents that have happened earlier in this. This is Andrew Navarro's block a little bit ago, maybe 10, 15 laps ago, or at least the block he tried to pull here, where things got really, really wild.
They're looking racy right here, and this is obviously prior to him getting cycled out back to now, what's the 6th position? See, maybe if try to get here in front of. Oh yeah, look at that. Tried to get down to the inside of Smallwood, cross him over a little bit, and then Anthony Burrows comes in, makes that contact, really cycles him out. He had a spot, just slotted into that top 3 still, and try to get an alternate angle of it here, but it's that contact from Burrows, I think, that really sent him on his way back.
Is indeed contact from Burrows that changed the game, and Burrows is up to 3rd. Navarro still in that 6th position, but Taylor Hurst gone yet again to the tune of about a second, and your lead pack ends really at Brian Mercurio. Matthew Zwack is kind of at his own zip code here. He's about a second back of Mercurio, but about half a second clear of Hunter Johnson, and then you've got Kalanick and Holzer, who is the highest running of the drivers that did not stay out. That quintet that held the track position. Hazard has managed to get to his rear bumper and may make a move. Delaney was trying to hold off Nichols and Bitts, who both decided to pit. Little bit of contact, and the exit of the corner between Holzer and Hazard. We'll go back to that battle now. So you'll see Holzer, the white truck there, just entering the corner. Then Hazard, then Delaney, then Nichols, and Noah Bitts is behind them in the green and white truck at the end of this group.
I think something else to monitor here. I mean, of course, some of these laps have been run under caution, but for a lot of the leaders right now, looking at about 30, 31 laps so far on this set of tires. And by the end of the race, I mean, that's going to be close to what is it, 47, 48 laps or so, and that is when we saw our first caution. So I think something to monitor here is potentially another late race caution that could shake things up, just from how worn and how destroyed these guys' tires are going to be by the end of this thing.
You just have to be incredibly smooth and consistent with your motions to minimize tire wear. That is the biggest thing for any one of the drivers that stayed out. You're fighting an uphill battle, no doubt about it. It's just a matter of to what degree you cannot saw on the wheel and then hold off some of these drivers at bay, which Delaney's done a really nice job, at least up to now, of keeping Hazard, or rather Nichols, behind him. The two red trucks there. Easy to mix up, but for how much longer can you continue to keep fresher tires behind you for another 15 laps?
On the monitor, I don't know. From what we're seeing around the field, especially in the back half of it right now, we have not seen lots of smooth, consistent driving right now, and I think that's just the position that a lot of these guys are in right now, where they're trying to make up spots, and you're watching that lap counter go down, starting to get more aggressive, more desperate, and could be easy to just make one mental error that could put yourself in jeopardy.
Good stuff here with Dalton Collins and company. This is 20th, 21st, 22nd, as Holzer has managed to get a little bit of a jump on Delaney, and Zach Nichols has fallen by the wayside just a bit. Got loose on the exit, or rather entry of turn 3 last time by, and you see him stuck on the outside there. As Thomas Hazard's going to get to the inside now. Look at Noah Bitts making moves, starting to see some of the fresh tire drivers fight each other, which is everything that Holzer and Delaney will want to see. I think they'd rather have the fresh tire drivers battling each other than battling them.
Absolutely, and well, Bitts likes what he's seeing in his mirror, hoping to drive away from these two side by side. Careful here if you're Hazard. Again, you don't want to get cycled out, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. He's running a little bit wide there and makes a good move to get slotted back in line.
Alex Kolinick's the one now leading this group, or rather Hunter Johnson the one leading this group in the 9th position. He is about, call it a second and a half back of Matthew Zwack. So Zwack again beginning to open things up. There's a good look at Hunter Johnson's machine. Then Kolinick's, then Holzer, then Delaney, then Nichols, then Bitts. And a little bit of a gap back to Cole Hooper. But a lot of these trucks in this group here, and I don't know whether or not it's just them trying to push or them trying to really go crazy with it, but I see a lot of rear end stepping out on corner exit. That, more than anything else, is what stands out to me.
And not only the rear end slipping out, but a lot of the times they'll run that exit arc just a little bit wide, and it almost takes them into the wall, just kind of brushing against it. And a lot of ill-handling trucks at this point of the run, and again, that's a mixture, just pushing these trucks a little too far right now, trying to make up time, make up spots, but also just where we're at in the tire run.
Keeping an eye here. Delaney looks like he may be just a tick faster than Holzer, but Nichols, I think, may be a tick faster than both of them. So if you're Delaney, you could try and put the bumper to Holzer, but if you do that, does that open up the door for Nichols to pass both of them?
Absolutely. I think that's part of the point of contention for sure. We got one truck off the pace. I'm lucky from what we've seen that didn't bring out a caution.
Brandon Pipgrass, again, not the first time he's had issues this evening, and I think he will not mind departing the Milwaukee Mile as soon as he possibly can.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just have one of those nights. Look at James Holzer looking down to the inside. Thought that might open the door for Jonathan Delaney, but will not for the time being. And trying to test out anything if you're James Holzer right now, trying to get around Kolinick's to no avail at the moment.
Holzer, I think, is much more concerned with defending Delaney and company, and I think it's a matter of defensive driving. Not really. I don't imagine he's looking out through the windshield all that much, so much as he is the rear view mirror. Now, if you're Delaney, again, you have the option to try and send if you want, or if you think that this group can claw back, as we see them starting to get moves here, and Hunter Johnson now starting to try and put the blocks on Kolinick's, who will drop to the inside. Johnson is just going to hang on to the position as Holzer gives Kolonix a few shots there in the center of 3 and 4.
And again, you got to be so careful right there because just the slightest bit of contact gets into that truck in front of you. And I get it. Hunter Johnson right now just trying to hang on. But you see he's leaving a little bit of a gap down to the inside. Going to run that corner a little bit wide. That's really going to open the door for Kolonix. He's just able to stay right there. And if he can make a big surge, maybe he'll have something. And look at Holzer.
Holzer dropped to the inside, and Delaney went all the way to the outside there. That was big, meaty moves there from really 4 of those drivers. And look at Holzer going all the way to the inside here.
Got to be careful playing with fire right now, James Holzer. Looks like Kolonix is able to get around Hunter Johnson, and he'll have to be very lucky not to fall out of the top 10 here. But with the way these guys are battling, very possible right now. Look at Delaney all the way down to the inside, 3 wide.
Well, Delaney's going to make it 3 in the center of the corner. He's going to try and get Holzer and Johnson both. Johnson will fall to the wayside, and now here comes Jonathan Delaney to the inside of James Holzer. This would be for the 10th position if he can make the pass.
And again, 5 laps to go at this point. You're seeing those laps tick down, and the aggressiveness is starting to pump up. You're just trying to make up all the spots you can, right? Especially if you're on the cusp of a top 10. For guys like Holzer, now Zach Nichols especially, what will they do to try to break into this top 10?
Really impressive stuff from Delaney in particular, not only to find a way around James Holzer, but also to hold off all of these drivers that have fresher tires.
Oh, trouble! Oh, almost went around it. It's going to bring out a caution.
It will, and that's the last thing that Taylor Hurst needed to see. 4 laps to go. This will almost certainly bring out a green-white checker. So now let's go to Justin Malillo on this one. Justin, do you pit in this situation?
I have absolutely no idea, James Spike. I have absolutely no idea. I want to say, like, if you get 10 or more trucks to stay out, whoever's leading that pack is probably going to win. I don't think the fresh tires are going to matter that much. But then again, fresh tires could be worth 2-3 seconds at this point. Oh my goodness, I'm not envious of any of these crew chiefs right now.
Do you want points or do you want the win? I think that's the biggest question, especially for Daniel Smallwood. He's the one I'm really curious to watch here. Hurst will probably stay out. I'd be surprised if he didn't, unless he comes down and tries to force the hand of everybody else.
I think that's what he's going to do. No.
Who's going to go? Brian LaPrade is going to be the first to commit, and I think everybody else is going to stay out just about on the track here. It's a bit of a split group here, but more trucks stayed out than did not. So looks like staying out was in fact the call to make for a lot of these teams.
That's really tough for Navarro and Brian LaPrade here. We're going to get a replay on what catalyst for that caution was, and we saw it kind of off screen there.
I mean, let's be fair about it, Caleb. I think I saw within that we might be able to run this back. Let's count the lane switches that I see. 1, 2, Hunter Johnson with 3, 4 if you count him apexing again, and it had been like that for the last 4 or 5 laps. We were watching the battle with Delaney and Johnson and Holzer and company, and it was just like that. Kolonix too. It was like that all the same. So I sort of get the sense that this was bubbling and brewing, and it was bound to come to the surface at some point. It was just a matter of whether or not we got to the checkered flag before that point.
Yeah, and really tough for Thomas Hazard there. I'm just kind of in awe of that, and put us in a very precarious situation here. And again, we're going to touch on, Brian LaPrade, Andrew Navarro, especially those two, really in a tough situation where, you're thinking everybody else is going to pit, and you don't want to be left out there, but now nobody went with you, and that's the tough part. Is now you have to make up all this track time, and a track that's notoriously hard to pass on with only 3 laps to go. It just put them in a really tough spot back here.
How does this all shake out? Biggest question indeed for the leaders, for everybody else, for how nutty this could get or not get. Lights are off on the pace truck. We will indeed have a green-white checker. Taylor Hurst, your control car, trying to go wire to wire and bring this home at the very end. He takes off. Great jump for Hurst, who's going to be clear by about a truck length. Meanwhile, immediately Smallwood will go to the bottom to block Anthony Burrows.
Got to be very careful here. Look at Matthew Zwack was thinking about it for just a second. Still double file on back. 2 laps to go. Oh, and we're spinning in the back again.
Brady and Hunter Geoghegan are the 2 that I believe ended up sideways as the yellow flag comes out, and we will have our second attempt at a green-white checker.
And Taylor Hurst has really figured these restarts out, and I don't know if you're one Daniel Smallwood or somebody on back, you're gonna have to figure that out. But look back here, this is right around those trucks that pitted in Briar LaPrade you see on screen.
Classic flat track stack up. I mean, not much you can say, I think, on that one, truthfully.
Yeah, just, I mean, barely no time to react, and like you said, just a classic stack up right there, and results in 2 trucks going around, puts us under caution. Don't necessarily think anybody really at fault of that, just kind of the scenario that everybody back there was placed in.
So Taylor Hurst still your race leader. Worth noting here, amongst the variation in strategy, that Delaney is up to 7th, Kolinick's 8th on the standard strat for the race leaders, and then Nichols, who came down for tires, is the highest running amongst the drivers that pitted way back. 40-lap old tires. He currently 6th and 9th.
And again, I think we're kind of set up for a little chess match, at least on the front row and a little bit on back. But again, Taylor Hurst, you know, he had a rough go of it the first restart we had, where Smallwood was really able to kind of get to that outside and didn't last for long through turns 1 and 2, but still wasn't even close to the launch he's been getting on every restart, it feels like, since then, where, like you said, it's almost a truck length or so that he'll just launch out there, and it's just not even a competition, really. So, I mean, what games, if you're Daniel Smallwood or Anthony Burrows, can you play to try to get in a victory lane? Or on the flip side, are you happy to walk out of here with a 2nd or a 3rd with a good points day here, race 5 of round 2?
Lights are off on the pace cars, so this will be our second attempt at a green-white checker. We have 3 available to us. Worth noting that too. So if we get another yellow flag, we'll try again one more time, and at that point, we'll take the green flag on a 3rd restart if we get there, and the next flag will end the race, regardless of whether or not it's the caution flag or the checkered flag.
And going to be interesting here for sure. Is it going to be Hurst? Is it going to be Smallwood or Burrows? Can Boyd Hogan make noise? Even Brian Mercurio, Matthew Zwack on back, going to be something to watch out for in case, you know, these front 4 get stacked up, something like that. But we'll have to see about it on this restart.
Taylor Hurst with the responsibility of bringing us back to green again. He's gotten 2 really good jumps on these last 2 restarts. Can he do it again to get clear of Smallwood and Burrows and Boyd Hogan, who's had a fabulous run when he needs one? He takes off again, stacks up the field just a bit. Nice work there from Burrows. Meanwhile, they're all sideways and already down to the bottom as soon as they can behind him.
Smallwood did really good right there, and if he backed that corner up, I think he's going to have an opportunity here to maybe get a run off the corner. Boyd Hogan trying to get to his outside, Smallwood blocking, and that might clear the way for Taylor Hurst here.
Big trouble in the back, no yellow flag. There were cars that hit the inside retaining wall, but we will make it to the white flag. So last lap here for Taylor Hurst. Now the yellow flag comes out, and per what I'm seeing on iRacing timing and scoring, believe we will have one more restart. That is a surprise to me because that wreck really blew up on the back straightaway, and I'm surprised we didn't get the yellow flag before then, unless there was a second incident on the exit of turn 4 that actually did bring out the yellow.
There's some stuff to unpack there for sure as we'll look at the replay. This is what you were talking about, cars in the inside retaining wall. Thomas Hazard, one of them. We were 3-4 wide off the corner from this stack up back here, and I mean, with you. I'm kind of confused as to why that caution didn't come out sooner if there wasn't a secondary incident.
Someone would have been in the racing line at that point, and there was nobody back sort of in that plate.
I mean, that one, not much going on there. Just what happens when you're 5 wide at the Milwaukee Mile.
The best guess I have is Yusuf Ghali sort of sitting in the well, that trio really, actually. No, it'll be Chris West. West was stuck on the outside retaining wall, and that would have been in the racing line, and that absolutely would have triggered the yellow. So I guess West on the back straightaway with the sideways car is your winning combination if you're playing iRacing Clue, perhaps.
And how frustrated are you if you're Taylor Hurst? I mean, you were, what, 100, 200 feet from taking the white flag there to end this race, and now you're going to have to fight off the entire field on one more restart here. And Smallwood and Burrows, they're, again, going to have one last opportunity, one last shot here. We know we're not getting any more restarts after this, so haven't been able to make much noise. Hurst has been doing a fantastic job of backing this field up and getting a great launch, but will remain to be seen if he can do it one more time.
So one more restart here. Lights off for the pace car. And again, next flag will end the race. So we'll get the green. If we get a yellow before we get the white, it's over. If we get the white before we get any sort of yellow, then I would expect that we'll be able to race back around. We'll see how iRacing decides to handle it, but you tell me at the end of the day how you expect this to check out and work.
Again, can Hurst back this field up and get the launch that we've been seeing from him? If he can do this one last time, it's going to be hard to catch him. Not over, but it's going to be definitely very tough for Daniel Smallwood on back.
All right. One more time here at the Milwaukee Mile. Wait and see if Hurst backs it down just a tad and then gets that really good launch. No, it was a much, much more straightforward launch and maybe a little bit better one there from Smallwood. Meanwhile, drivers trying to go 3 and 4 wide a little bit further back in this as they continue to fight for position from about 10th on back.
And all sorts of fanning out going on in the back half of the field right now. They'll have to keep that going green, as you see again, all the way down to that inside lane, but up front, Smallwood having no luck getting to the back of Hurst.
Taylor Hurst well and truly clear yet again by about 2 or 3 car lengths. They are way, way stacked up in the back.
And wrecking in the back, but white flag is out. We should be good to get back around, and Smallwood just not sure he's going to have the time to get back to Taylor Hurst, who has just been so dominant so far today. Down the backstretch one last time.
Flag to flag for Taylor Hurst, who got them all on the restarts and will complete one of the most dominating performances of the season in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series as they wreck big behind him out of turn 4. Holy cow, that is about 10 trucks there stuffed at the fence coming across the line. I have no idea who finished where or where that started. Taylor Hurst wins this race, but I'd almost rather get the replay and see just what happened with that, because there was an incident there a little bit further back too.
And Chris Sweat's got airborne there, and track blocking wreck to end this race at the Milwaukee Mile only fit.
Nice little celebration there. Teammates at Lockdown Racing. Jonathan Delaney, who came up with a fabulous top 5, staying out on old tires. But Taylor Hurst was the driver to beat tonight in Wisconsin. And my goodness, did he ever have quite a truck.
And he did so good here tonight. And at one point, just on speed, had a 4 or 5 second gap back to second place. I mean, no question that tonight was his night to lose, and having to fend everybody off on those constant restarts there at the end. What a fantastic drive for Taylor Hurst, who, again, just a great run from the Milwaukee Mile for that 74.
All right, so this is Cole Hooper and Christopher Pfeffer, and you see the block there from Pfeffer on Hooper, and then watch Pfeffer and Hooper once again. Big time turn down, an absolute right hook there on Cole Hooper into the fence, and that cleaned out about, I mean, just look at everybody else piling in at the end of this. We had cars. I think Kenny Brady came across the line backwards to finish this race.
I have no words for that. I mean, look at Pfeffer right here. Just hooks him.
Now, Dalton Collins definitely got into him a little bit. Justin Malillo, you're seeing a good bit of this. What are you seeing as to how this all played out?
I'm seeing a lot of angry people at the end of 110 laps here, 111 laps. Or no, we only went 110. I'm just seeing frustrations boiling over going into turn 3. A lot of blocking, a lot of wrecking. It looks like Dalton Collins there. I don't know. He kind of drove it in there after they blocked. They slowed up both Pfeffer and the other truck that wrecked. I can't think of the word. Cole Hooper. Yes. Collins just was going in there and he hits Hooper into Pfeffer, and Pfeffer slides up. He saves it, and then Breyer gets down there, and I don't know. Pfeffer just turned left, and there goes 10, 12 trucks. Just unnecessary carnage. People just plowing into it at full speed. I mean, that's a rough one. That's a rough way to end one of these.
Maybe some holidays involved for some of the drivers that were at the center of that incident. Just a prediction on my end. Don't think that we're going to see everybody involved in that incident in 2 weeks' time at Bristol. But we do have our results, unofficial, of course, from tonight. Taylor Hurst dominated the race, as did Daniel Smallwood, who got second. Anthony Burrows third. Those three were in the top 5 all night long. We'll hopefully get the chance to chat with them in just a moment. Boyd Hogan finished 4th, and Jonathan Delaney cannot talk about the drive he had enough. On older tires than pretty much everybody else behind him, manages to come home P5 for Lockdown Racing Rise Esports. A fabulous run from the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania native to get his final spot in the top 5. James Holzer came home 6th. Matthew Zwack was 7th. Zach Nichols 8th. And then Brian Mercuriar and Noah Bitts finished in the top 10.
All things considered, Briar LaPrade does a great job of navigating through all the chaos there at the end to come home with an 11th place after pitting late there. Timmy Pacioli going to come home in the 12th position. Philip Groner 13th. James Houghton in the 14th position tonight. And then Hunter Johnson, we saw involved in one of those late race wrecks. He comes home 15th. Matt Kemp, after starting in the 20th position, going to finish in the 16th position here tonight. Matthew Bear, a good run for him as well. After starting 30th, comes home 17th. Christopher Pfeffer, we saw involved in that out of 4 contact. He finishes 18th here tonight. And then Andrew Navarro, the other half of the Briar LaPrade pit stop, and he comes home 19th after starting 5th. A really tough result for someone who was up front for a fair portion of this race. Rounding out your top 20, number 8 truck of Kenny Brady.
21st, after all the madness, was Cole Hooper. Alex Kolonix finished in 22nd. Dalton Collins was 23rd. Yusuf Ghali, the last truck on the lead lap, in 24th. Caden Rush finishes 25th. First truck 1 lap down in the 6th machine. Chris Wetz was 26th. Luke Nupp, 27th. Brandon Pipgrass, Hunter Geoghegan, and Thomas Hazard, the final 3 trucks in the top 30. And Trayton Labsovich got into trouble earlier on in this race and finishes 42 laps down in 31st. Let's bring in some of our top finishers. We begin this evening with the race winner for the first time here on FTF.GG's Twitch channel in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series in 2023. Taylor Hurst, where did the speed come from on this truck tonight? And how did you find it, especially in a long green flag run, compared to everybody else in this field?
Man, it just preparation and teamwork, man. That's what it takes. A lot of laps practicing, especially qualifying, and we knew we had a good long run truck to begin with. So, qualifying, just chipping them laps off, trying to get it perfect, and put it on pole, and just never look back, man.
Fabulous work. Clearly, you and everybody at Lockdown Racing had something good. How much work did you all put into this? And was this a track maybe that you all had circled as one where you really felt like you could make some gains?
Yeah, I definitely had this one circled for me personally. I love these flat tracks, so I've always leaned towards here in Martinsville and New Hampshire, places like that. It's my cup of tea. But a lot of practice. Agna Phillip, he put a lot of work in this week for this track, and he threw a wrench at me 2 days ago, and we went with a completely different setup from what we ran for 2 weeks practicing with it. So. I think that was where the little bit of extra speed was. So shout out to him. I think he finished fifth in the other splits. So good night all around for all of us. And we're gonna take this McConaughey setup shop Chevy, and I don't even know where we go next. Where do we go? Bristol Dirt. So we'll be slinging it around at Bristol.
Bristol Dirt, meanwhile, unofficially, we have you second in points with the drop. So to what degree do you try and knock out a good run at Bristol? And to what degree do you start maybe turning your attention to the qualifying series with the points pad that you have?
Yeah, for sure. We need to work on the Xfinity car. We struggled last year and the year before. We weren't that great either. So I'll probably actually start this week or next week. I think I got a good buffer to P20 here. So we definitely got to perform this year, because last year we fell out, and all of lockdown we had a really bad time in contender. So we're going to work hard on that.
Taylor Hurst, winner tonight from the Milwaukee Mile. He gets it done, and we now turn our attention from Hurst to Daniel Smallwood, who finished in the second position. He is with Caleb Hoffman.
And Daniel, after a third place at Michigan, how does it feel to come back here with all that momentum and run up inside the top 5 all day and come out of here with the second place finish at the Milwaukee Mile?
It feels great. I haven't ran on this track in, Lord, I don't even know how long. It's not my favorite track, but everybody at Legacy put together a great setup, and driver wasn't as good, but it was able to keep us up there and come home with a great finish.
And all night, it really seemed like you, Andrew Navarro, and Anthony Burrows were all kind of running together in a mini pack of sorts. Do you think that you three could have done anything different there to get to the back end of Taylor Hurst there at the end?
I don't think I could. I feel like I was probably holding them up a little bit. I was a little bit too tight in the center to be able to get the cut down. So luckily, for me at least, not them, but Dirty Air was just able to keep them back behind me. So it just really mattered where you qualified. But Taylor was in another zip code. I haven't seen that fast in a while.
And then kind of an all-encompassing look right now at round 2. I mean, coming into tonight, you were running 9th in the standings, and then a second place finish here is definitely going to help your chances. I mean, do you look forward to Bristol Dirt, Homestead, Miami? Are you running more for wins, or are you just trying to kind of keep your spot going into the qualifying series?
We're in a great point spot, so still, obviously would like to win, but at the end of the day, a win doesn't do much besides extra points. So just try to keep the points in and just stay above the top 20 and just try to look forward to contender.
Either way, a fantastic result here for you. Second place at the Milwaukee Mile, and hopefully we'll be talking to you after Bristol Dirt, and that's in 2 weeks.
Heck yeah, it's going to be fun.
That is Daniel Smallwood. He is your second place finisher, and we'll go back to James Pike, who's with Anthony Burrows.
Bringing Anthony Burrows here to talk about his evening. And Anthony, just really consistent stuff there. Not the speed to get to Taylor Hurst, but was it tough to maintain your spot up there, or was this a race where it was more about just hitting your marks and putting down consistent laps?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty tough to keep it up there. It was all about just getting to the bottom lane, especially on the restarts. You would get eaten alive if you're on the outside. So, track position was super key tonight. I was kind of worried I'd get passed up at some point on the long run, but I don't know. I was able to just maintain, ran 3rd, 4th, 5th all night. Just kind of a quiet night, but I'll take that.
You'll take it. You'll work with it. Now, unofficially 6th in the points as well. So you've got a little bit of a buffer. What do you expect out of Bristol Dirt in 2 weeks' time?
Honestly, not expecting too much. I'd be happy with like a top 10, top 15 there. I struggled pretty bad last year there, so not much of a dirt guy. But if I can get out of that one clean and just have a solid finish, I'll be cool with that.
do you start looking at the Contender Series now, or are you at a place where you need to knock out Bristol, and would you rather focus on Bristol and Homestead first, and then worry about the rest?
I'd rather focus on Bristol first. I think solid finish at Bristol will get me pretty safe going into Homestead, and if by that point at Homestead I'm locked, then definitely going to shift the focus over to Contenders. So yeah, hopefully I can make it back. That'd be yeah, that's definitely the goal.
For Anthony and all the Walter fans out there, we'll see how the next two races go. But a good one tonight for Anthony Burroughs P3 here at the Milwaukee Mile. And Caleb Hoffman. Dirt racing is next on the calendar for us. What do you expect? What do you think we'll see? And is this maybe the last proper pivot point, I think, in this qualifying series, given that the final race of the year is in 1.5 miles?
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly, I feel like, the last of our traditional type of portion of the schedule for these trucks. And I think right now the difficult thing going into the Bristol Dirt is obviously, I mean, that's going to be a wild card with that dirt. But coming out of that race, your fate's almost kind of cemented at that point. Where if you're well out of the bubble going into Homestead, it's going to take a Hail Mary or something of that sort. Where I feel like that was why tonight was such a monumental step, and why we saw so much aggressiveness towards the back end of the pack. Was everybody kind of saw, again, Bristol Dirt is that wild card, and then after that, you're not really going to have that much time to rewrite your fate. And obviously, I mean, Taylor Hurst, what a run tonight to go wire to wire. I mean, looking at his run at Michigan last week, 14th place finish for Taylor Hurst. And I mean, it's got to feel so good to, after a lackluster performance to come out here and just be dominant. And it's got to feel good going into Bristol Dirt. And again, having that extra bit of a cushion, I think, into that race helps a lot.
I think it will. Speaking of the pack, let's take a look at the point standings. We've talked a little bit about where people sit unofficially. We've got them now. So this is unofficial, mind you, does include the drops. So you'd have to factor in where everybody's lowest finishes to really start nailing down the permutations and combinations. But we can see some trends here out of this, namely that Buttafuoco and Hurst haven't officially locked themselves in. I believe they potentially could starting next week, depending on how these things shake out. Actually, yes, I know they could. So if Buttafuoco and Hurst can maintain this gap going into the final week of racing, they will be in the qualifying, or the Contender Series, rather, no doubt. Everybody else still with some work to do, though. If you're Navarro, LaPrade, Mercurio, Burroughs, Smallwood, anywhere in that group that's almost 20 points above, I think you like your place. And then you look a little bit further back, and it ends up becoming a little bit more confusing, shall we say.
Absolutely. I mean, just look at this bubble. And again, coming into today, it was 23 points, and it's expanded a little bit. You see Yusuf Ghali 39th and Austin Johnson in 40th. But I mean, they're still in position to make a run here in the last two races. You're going to need a good run at Bristol Dirt, obviously, and then Homestead as well. Going to have to keep it together. But I mean, these guys aren't out of that fight to get into the top 20 just yet.
Three names that stand out to me: Ray Alfalla, 4-time Coke Series champion, the greatest driver that series has ever seen. Looks like he's going to be fighting right until the very end at Homestead, Miami. Spencer Kostowitz is in there too. Remember how things changed at Mid-Ohio. If he wins that race, not only does Buttafuoco not quite have the gap that he has, but Kostowitz is not down here in this bubble at all. And then Cole Hooper, who got right hooked tonight at the end of this, would be a little bit higher in the standings if the wreck didn't happen. So three drivers that are looking at this and probably not exactly happy with them being there.
And I mean,
yeah, good look at the final page. Now, I think I said about 30 points coming into tonight. I'm not necessarily convinced that that's even enough now, but I think you could start looking at the Brandon Hanna's, Hunter Johnson's, everybody 40 on back at this stage. I won't say it's impossible, but it's really, really going to take a lot, I think, to be able to make it out from that bunch.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot, but I don't think it's going to be impossible by any means. And I mean, looking at guys like Timmy Pacioli, who's to say that, you don't go on a run at Bristol Dirt. There's some chaos that unfolds and puts you in a good position. And then following that up with a good run at Homestead, it's going to be very improbable, maybe, but not impossible for sure. And a lot of these guys, they're just going to have to go at it 110% to try to get into this top 20. And there's going to be a lot of question marks come Homestead Miami, but still, it's going to be a heck of a battle to watch and follow for the final 2 races around 2.
We can also tell you that 4 drivers have been eliminated from contention for the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series in 2023 after this evening's races. Daniel Eberhardt, Chris Wetz, Joseph Causey, and Kyle Peddle, all done for the year, and they'll have to come back next season and try and run through the qualifying series once again.
Again, that's a tough break, and again, you're going to start to see more and more of that as we get later down into the running here. September 14th, Bristol Dirt. That's going to be round 6 of 7 here in round number 2. And again, everything's starting to kind of become cemented at this point where, if you're not quite in the thick of that battle, you're going to have to go at it 110%, give it your all. And that all starts September 14th, Bristol Motor Speedway. And what a wild card round that's going to be.
Could be nuts. A few broadcasts, though, coming your way on the FTF.GG Twitch channel before we get to September, I believe, 16th, 15th, 14th, 13th. At this point, my math escapes me, but 14th actually is the answer on that one. But you've got the Bar Visuals FTF Cup Series, 2 big races, 2 Saturday nights. This Saturday, 9:15 p.m., Darlington, the final crown jewel of the season and the beginning of their playoffs. And then next Saturday, September 9th, they head to the high banks of Daytona for a playoff race. A lot of the FTF Cup Series leadership in the Daytona Beach area, so they took real-life Daytona week off to go watch the race, and now they're back at it and ready to contend once again. So they will go clear to their season finale at Old Atlanta on November 18th. You can watch all that action on Saturday and Sunday nights here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel before Winsdale comes your way September 10th from Richmond. That'll be at 8 p.m. start, also here on twitch.tv/FTF_GG. We're back in action with the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing Series. Race 6, round 2, penultimate race of the season from the dirt track at Bristol Motor Speedway, 9 p.m. Eastern on the FTF.GG Twitch channel, September 14th. 2 Thursdays from now is the date you need to remember. That will do it for tonight's broadcast, race number 5 of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing Series, round number 2 of 2023 from the Milwaukee Mile. For our producer, Zach Johnson, our pit reporter, Justin Malillo, and my partner in the booth, Caleb Hoffman, I am James Pike. Thank you so much for watching FTF.GG's broadcast of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing Series, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time from the dirt version of Thunder Valley.